What's the definition of an impostor? How do you define an impostor? By definition, such a person is one who is anxious and not experiencing success internally. And the condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or a phony. Well, if you look in your dictionary beside imposter, you'll find two words: Chris Bowen. And make no mistake, this bloke is feeling the heat. Why, if Peter Dutton is as hopeless as Bowen would have you believe, why would Bowen be attacking Peter Dutton as, quote, the alternative Prime Minister from the alt-right? This was meant to be a major speech, by the way, to an energy summit. He obviously knows that his whole proposal about renewable energy is falling apart in front of him. But in an address to the Australian Clean Energy Summit yesterday, Bowen accused the opposition leader Peter Dutton of presiding over a, quote, cabal of climate denial that runs policy in the federal opposition. By the way, I wish they were all in denial about this rubbish. But this bloke Bowen is an imposter. This is emotional and defensive rubbish. Further, he said, in 2023, the alternative government in Australia is replete with climate change deniers. The poor bloke is feeling the heat. Peter Dutton is spreading misinformation, we're told. Well, that's why they want legislation, a misinformation bill to stop people disagreeing with the government. In a further denunciation of himself rather than of Peter Dutton, Bowen said, the man who wants to be considered as the alternative Prime Minister of Australia strongly endorsed the candidacy of a man who engages daily in blatant conspiracy theory, propagation and disinformation when it comes to climate and vaccines, unquote. This was in relation to Senator Gerard Rennick. You see, Bowen doesn't want debate. Bowen doesn't want alternative viewpoints. Peter Dutton's away, but the Deputy Leader of the Federal Liberal Party, Susan Lee, was absolutely right when she said it's time for Chris Bowen to grow up. It's time for him to take responsibility for the energy crisis that's spinning out of control on his watch and get on with the job. I might add, Susan, why the hell did you mess it up by saying we're all in favour of zero renewables, net zero emissions? Oh, God, I nearly fell out of the chair. Bowen told the conference that using nuclear to power Australian homes would be expensive, slow to build, unproven, not flexible, and produce enormous waste. The bloke's on another planet. Producing enormous waste? Well, if he's going to get to his net zero target of 43% reduction by 2030, he says, not me, he says, we'll need 22,500 watt solar panels every day for 8 years. When they're no longer operative, do they just rot or where do they go? Solar panels. He says we'll need 47 megawatt wind turbines every month. Every month. This is why Bowen's under siege, anxious and uncertain. Bowen is the energy imposter. Then, of course, he says we'll need, he says, at least 10,000, look at those bloody ugly things, 10,000 kilometres of additional transmission lines. But then, as I said yesterday, a Net Zero Australia reports that, quote, climate policy remains in the grip of an intelligentsia that lacks the wisdom to recognise the boundaries of its own ignorance, unquote. It's talking about you, Chris Bowen, hopelessly ignorant of where your energy policy is taking the nation. But you blunder on and destroy the national economy. You can't shut down coal-fired power stations. That's what's bothering. He said he will, but the same outfit, Net Zero Australia, says we'll have to, and this mob are in favour of net zero. This is the mob advocating net zero, that's their name. He says, it says we'll have to find another $1.5 trillion to meet the 2050 green targets. But we've got to find it by 2030. 1.5 trillion? What did the imposter Bowen tell this energy conference yesterday? That using nuclear to power Australian homes would be expensive. Expensive. Net Zero Australia says that to get to Bowen's targets, we'll need $1.5 trillion of investment by 2030. This is in 7 years. And I keep saying, what's wrong with coal-fired power anyway, if it emits carbon dioxide, which is 0.04% of the atmosphere? I mean, you'd have to be a dope if you believed that 0.04% was going to have any effect on anything, let alone climate. And even if we were to get to net zero carbon dioxide, renewable energy can't power the nation. When coal-fired power now, 2023, currently provides up to 80% of our energy needs. Bowen is the most dangerous minister that this country has seen since World War II, and he can't cop it when people disagree.